Hi folks, I think I'm live for the first time in a long time. I get all this adjusted right. Cool, I did it. Learning a new technology. It's not so new to me, an old fogey like me. Anyways, I don't know if there's anybody watching, they can see it later. I just did this impromptu. I might do this weekly, do a weekly fiddle jam session. Fiddle Jam being the name of the channel, Fiddle Jam Institute. It started with a book, a little book like this, Fiddle Jam, a way cool, easy way to learn how to improvise. It came out in this little small form that would fit in your case and just fit a CD in it 20 years ago. And then it was picked up by Hell Hunter. They made the big version of it, still available out there on the internet. I'm out of stock with them right now, but you can get them on Amazon or straight from Hell Hunter. And it was all about improvisation, because improvisation was the thing that was the most missing in violin pedagogy. You know, as classical violinists, we learn to play and play well. We learn the museum pieces. You know, we learned of Bach, Beethoven, Mozart, Vivaldi, these kind of things, and we play off the page, and that's it. We don't learn to jam and make up our own stuff, and that's not the way it's supposed to be, I don't think. That's not the way even, you know, Mozart intended to be. He intended people to kind of jam and make stuff up and stretch it out. That's what history tells us. And so I realized that I'm a jamming guy. I was, you know, a jazz fusion violinist way back in the late 70s and 80s and into the 90s, and then played Zydeco, and then turned to gypsy jazz for another 10-year period. I've been improvising most of my adult life and actually gave up college to improvise. I didn't want to become a symphony violinist. It just didn't interest me. I later was a soloist in front of the symphony, the Buffalo Philharmonic, as a gypsy jazz violinist, playing the music of Django Reinhardt and Stefan Grappelli. That was pretty cool to have a 100-piece backup band behind you. But playing in an orchestra was not my thing. I thought that the violin world was missing something. And in the early 2000s, there was a whole movement called the alternative string movement that a number of us said, wait a minute, we've been doing this our whole lives and it's missing, so let's put our stuff out there. And a number of us wrote books. I wrote one, and it got picked up and put out all over the world. Kind of proud of that. And later started the whole Fiddle Jam Institute online. It has hundreds of lessons and stuff. So I thought I'd give this a try. And maybe if anybody has comments and suggestions, I can, in the next session, I could answer those. I'm having trouble with, you know, E blues. Can you do some work with that? We could put on a track and jam together. We could do some call and answer. So why don't I try that right now? The main thing, if you want to get into improvisation and sounding cool and increase your coolness factor, the main thing you can do is learn the blues scale. The blues scale is what I call the get away with murder scale. You don't have to know hardly anything to use the blues scale and sound cool. The blues scale is actually theoretically a minor pentatonic with an extra note added in. So we don't have to get into too much theory here. The blessing for us violinists is that if you're in standard tuning, G, D, A, E, there is some super easy fingerings that on a few of these scales and a few of the keys. If you go on the website, there's that 8 Easy Zone sheet you can download for free in the school store. It's 8 of the easiest fingering scales. So you don't have to be a virtuoso to start improvising. You don't have to be a classical master and then learn to improvise. That's a bunch of rubbish, part of the myth too. I'm a myth buster. You can and should, I believe, start improvising right away. If you've only played for a month and know just G, D, and A major scales, start messing around with them. Heck, start messing around before that, making up your own stuff. What this trains your brain to do is learn to play from the inside out rather than outside on the page in. The musical experience is so much deeper. And if you do this from the very beginning, even if you just play, I'm going to play this one note right now. That's improvisation. So learn to be your own master in that regard. Even if you're playing Twinkle Twinkle, you can play each note as you see fit and when you want, with the right feeling behind it and the right rhythm, the way you interpret it, the way you're hearing it in your head. That's the key, hearing it in your head. hearing it in your head first, a split second beforehand, and it's going to come here. A good orator, a good speaker, a good politician, a good preacher, whatever, good lecturer will have that sense, and they have a sense of authority. They're placing their words, and they take their time. You need to learn to do that too. And it's in the classical world, it's the ones that get to the upper echelon of soloists are the ones that have that ability. The ones that are just as good technically and are still playing from the outside in don't reach the audience with an emotional component. There's something that tags on some magic when you learn to play the way you're hearing it in your head, the way you want it, with the right touch, the right sensitivity, the right dynamic, the right timing. When you start to latch onto that, make that a part of your skill set, you're playing it the way you want to. No one else is telling you. You got to be a little bit of a rebel. You don't have to feel intimidated that, oh, I stink, I don't know enough. You know everything. All you got to do is learn to trust that inner. And science is actually telling us it's in your heart. There actually is a little brain inside your heart. They're saying they found about 40,000 brain cells that are actually in your heart that talk to your big brain. And it's actually, they found out that the brain, the little brain in the heart, this is heart math, people, scientists, about 30 years ago now, have discovered that it actually is precognitive. It hears, thinks of things a little bit ahead of time and senses them. It's almost like your heart is a little bit psychic. 3 to 10 seconds. We're not talking about, hey, next month, the world's going to end. We're talking about just hearing, oh, I should be careful. I should slow down so the police don't give me a ticket. Or I should play this note then. That's what we listen to as musicians. And I should play it with this emphasis, or this way, and this attack. If the way you hear it, and in my experience, when I didn't listen to that inner voice, I was always disappointed, almost always. And it was always, the misery factor would come up. It's just flailing at it and didn't have the same feeling. So if you can learn to start tapping into that as a skill, that's where the money is, that's where the magic is, that's where the joy factor is. So that's the platform I stand on when I was trying to get everybody to jam with this first initial book 20 years ago. And it's this platform I still stand on, and the whole website is based on that platform. Now there are things you can learn, fiddle tunes, you can learn gypsy jazz songs, you can learn rock songs and reggae songs on the website as well, and learn all kinds of things and riff training and stuff. But the main cornerstone of it is improvisation and learning to jam. Even the bluegrass styles these days, the kids coming up playing bluegrass, they're starting to jam. Used to be bluegrass was just recite the song, play it the best you can, win the competition, and hope for the best every time. Well, when you develop improvisation, I've heard the younger crowd of the bluegrass scene, they'll play the tune, Old Joe Clark, whatever it is, and then they'll go off and jam together and pass it around and goof around with it and eventually come back. That's the real stuff that gives people goosebumps, if you ask me. And that's where the freedom comes with it. Everybody wants to be free, right? You want to be free to create, free to play. Just pick up your instrument and play. That's where the magic is. You don't want to be encumbered by having the stress of having to play it exactly right. There are situations where you have to play it exactly right, for sure, in a symphony, or if you have a part that's exact in a recording or something you need to play so it fits everybody. There are certain times when you have to strive to do things right. But most of the time in the real world, no. Even playing those parts, if you play them the way you want, the way you're hearing them in your head, it'll probably go much better. At least it'll kind of give you that little heads up, the precognitive thing where you're going to play it and you're relaxed and it's coming across as if you have the authority, because you do inside yourself. So what kind of things would I like to cover on these jam sessions? I think that some of the things that this little book could not do was it didn't do a whole lot of riff training. I said, do your own thing. That's what it's all about, doing your own thing, doing your own thing. And the first question that people would complaint that people have or worry, but I don't know what to play, they'd say. And I'd say, of course you don't know what to play. No one does. I don't either. You just listen inside your own head and play that. Well, still that connection between that and reality is sometimes missing. And even myself, I developed a vocabulary over many years. I had to think back, how did I learn to improvise? Well, I had a deep history of listening to jazz records, listening to jazz fusion records. I listened to more saxophonists than I did violinists. I listened to Jean-Luc Ponty, of course. In the late 70s, he was selling millions of records. and is now an acquaintance of mine. I'm happy to have met him a few times, and we exchange emails every once in a while. It's kind of cool. But he and only a few others were improvising violinists. There's Stefan Grappelli, of course, back in the 40s, and Joe Venuti. But if you're not into that old school jazz, what do you do? Well, there's not that many people. You can count them on one hand. Maybe Jerry, the guy in King Crimson, Jerry Goodman. There is Stuff Smith with another guy out there. How many people can you think of? I can't hardly think of any right now. I'm blanking. But John Lupani is probably the king of it. And there's a few others out there for sure. But not many. Like guitarists, there's millions of guitarists. And there, the Rolling Stone magazine has the top 100 guitarists of all time. And these kind of things. There's not the top 100 violinist lists of all time. I don't think so. It has to go back pretty far in history. And there's definitely not the top rock violinists or the top jazz violinists of 100 of all time. That's like, so we're behind. Us violinists are behind the guitar industry and the other industry. But like I was saying, I had a whole history of listening to things and trying things. I play other instruments. I play bass guitar pretty well, and I've done thousands of gigs on it. I play guitar pretty well, and I had this history to draw from, and I applied it to the violin. So I'm a little bit different than others. But I can say this is a good riff to try, and you can try it with me. Of course, not too many commercials. I have a book of riffs and tricks called Rock and Blues Fiddle Jam Etudes. It's for sale on the site as well. You can get that if you like. It's a digital ebook download, and you can print it out if you're a music reader. Otherwise, if you don't read, I can do some of that stuff here. So, like I was saying, let's try a little bit. Let's try a little bit of call and answer. So if you have your fiddle out, you can get it out, and I think I'm in tune. I'm in tune with the standard A. Here's A. And if you're listening to this later, you can stop, your video and tune to that. D, G, and E. You can tune with me. Now, the E blues is probably the best one. Why? One reason, because if we're in the guitar world, as the blues and rock and roll usually is, E is their bottom string. It's one of their favorite keys. Guitar players are always strumming that E chord. And they're in the key of E a lot of times. So it fits in with that world. And it's also happens to be very easy on your violin. It has an easy zone. An easy zone is a symmetrical fingering on two adjacent strings. So two strings right next to each other, the same exact fingering, which is pretty easy. Now for the E blues, I'll get up close to the camera. It's open, like if you know D major. So open 1, high 2, 3, open 1, high 2, 3 is the D major scale, right? So what you do to make it E blues is skip the second finger. It's that simple. That's right, skip the second finger. So open 1, skip to 2, 3, open 1, 3. Now, I said E blues, right? So D is not the tonic notice. First finger E will be the tonic. Now it starts to sound like it's centered on something, right? So let me play that. So try that for a second. And all of a sudden it sounds kind of cool right away, right? Hey, I'm halfway cool, you can say, right? So just knowing that one scale. So that is what's called minor pentatonic technically. You can call it the blues scale if you want. Officially, it's not really the blues scale until you add what's called the flatted fifth. So what does that mean? And the number system in the E, E, F, G, A, B. B is the fifth note of E, right? So if we flat that note, B flat. So we're going to add the B flat in there. It's this spicy, sassy blue note, it's called. It sounds increases your coolness factor about 10 more points just knowing that, right? So E, G, A, B flat, low one, slide it to regular one, and D. Come the rest on the E. So it's that simple. Now what you need to do is spend a few minutes of chaos, as I call it, chaos theory. Just going nuts, just noodling around with those notes, noodle, and doing any old thing, any speed. Do it with me. Slide it around. If you're new to this stuff, just get used to it, shake it loose, get the crust off, move around those notes, keep going, noodle around for a minute, just get your fingers used to doing any old thing for a second, because what you're really trying to do is turn your rational thinking brain kind of off. You just want to, the best improvisation comes when you're not thinking too hard about it. The less you consciously think, the more you can hear the hard part, and this comes out. All right. So this is another training part. It takes a while. Sometimes it takes years of learning and training yourself not to think so hard and get in that zone. That's not just for music and improvisation. That's in any sport, any skill, anywhere you'll hear, Wayne Gretzky talking about being in the zone, the great one, and the hockey player, or you'll just hear a billiards player say, "Oh yeah, I was in the zone today. I could put the ball anywhere I wanted," or football players or any sport, they can get in the zone, any skill. And we're trying to gather the things that get in the way of getting in the zone. One is thinking too much, and one is being hampered and encumbered by the physical part. So mess around with the thing. I hope you're still goofing around with those notes for a minute. All right, hopefully that loosened you up. Now let's try some call and answer. So this is one thing I did not do in the book. There wasn't enough room on the CD to do this. So in my later courses, there is a Fiddle Jam 101 course you can take on the website. It's for sale in the school store. I just went over it and updated a couple things. It goes beyond the book. It has some call and answer. It has the chaos theory. It has the stuff that the book was missing for sure. I just went beyond it. So let's try some of these things. So on E blues, copy me. So I'm going to play it. You're going to be listening. Hopefully it's going to be bouncing around in your head a little bit while you're hearing me. And then have it still bouncing around in your head while you play it back. So that you're training yourself, kind of, I'm the leader, but you're training yourself to listen internally. And when doing the call and the answer, as it's called, you're hearing not just what I'm playing as I'm playing it, and hearing what you're playing just as you're playing, but you're also hearing that past and present thing, past and future thing. You're hearing what you just heard still bouncing around in there as well. Our brain has this holographic ability to it. And you're also hearing, if you pay attention and relaxed, what you hope to hear or expect to hear. So let's try it. I'm going to try a super easy riff. Rhythm is the most important part. Just follow me rhythmically. 1, 2, me, go. You. Got it? It's that simple. Let me try it again. Ready? Me. You. Follow me. Go. So, you getting the idea of this, how this works? It's therapy. If you're an advanced player, it's obviously way below your ability. If you're a beginner, this might be just for you. Did you hear that I went down one note and lifted my finger? Now it's okay. It's not cheating to look at my fingers. I'll try and put it in the camera. Did you go down with me when I went down and listen to the pitches going up or down? You'll train your ear this way, and you also get that ear connection to the brain where you'll hear, oh, it went up. Oh, it went up to the next note. Okay, you'll hear that and listen for that. You can develop these things. Even if you're just starting when you're 80 years old, you can still develop these things, all right? Your brain is still malleable. It still learns. Science is proving this. So let's try another one. That's E, E, G. Good. There goes the A. A, D. Try your best. Good. Low one. 1. Low 1 start. Try the slide. 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 Now I'm going to stop there for a second. If you're kind of new to violin, that can be a technical trip up. It's a left-right brain thing. As you may know, we have 2 halves to our brain. And having them balanced is important for music because one side, the left side, which is attached to the right hand, is really good at logical thinking and figuring and that kind of stuff. And the right brain, which is attached to the left hand, is way better at concepts and feelings and that kind of stuff. So to play music, of course, we have to be able to know it and feel it. So it needs both sides. And this is an example of this where physically we need both sides because you are doing a down bow and a slur. It's going from B flat to B. And then the next one, you're going to put your finger back and do up bow. When you're new to slides, that freaks some people out. Down bow, slide up, and now up bow, placing your finger back and slide up. If you had trouble with that, do it 100 times. It's all about until it becomes a no-brainer and muscle memory. So let me play that again. Again, slide. 3, low 1, 1, 3, low 1, 1, 3. I'll do it again. You. Now try it faster. And that's a little bit of a mess, but that's okay. So, whoa, D, down, 1, da, 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 da. A little tricky. Let's try it again. 1. That's 1, da, 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 D, 2. How's it going? Are you getting it? Are you grabbing it? Now, some people have a natural ear and can follow things, no problem at all. Some of you probably might struggle, go, what was that again? And you have to look at the fingers, and that kind of thing. That's okay. Anything that it takes to get it inputted into your brain through whatever senses you have, your ears, your eyes, your feeling in your gut, your heart, whatever it takes, learn to kind of do that. So, I don't want to beat anybody over the head. I'll tell you one thing. You can mess around with this all week. If you like it, let me know. If you got suggestions, let me know. Of course, this was E blues, right? So any E, anywhere is going to sound relaxed. It's the tonic of the key. So isn't open E? If you want to expand outside of the box, the little fingering box, open 1, 3, open 1, 3, you can go to open E. So, and feel free to rip me off. It's okay in improvisation to gather a vocabulary, even stolen from other instruments, other players. It's okay, and it becomes, as it comes internalized, it becomes yours. It's all right. So, many great players. I mean, I was very inspired by Michael Brecker, the great tenor saxophone player who passed away a while back. We actually had the same birthday. You may have heard me say that before. I thought it was kind of cool that I was totally about him, and we had the same birthday. Not the same year, but same day of the month. And I thought he was this guy that just emoted, you know, direct channel to God. But then as I listened to different recordings, like, oh, he had the same riff on that record as he had on that record. So even he had a vocabulary that he drew upon. And it's okay. We, with words, we have a vocabulary. We start learning from Mama, Dada, Gaga, Goo when we're children, and we build it one word at a time. And hopefully we keep building it for a whole life. We'll have a bigger and bigger vocabulary, right? And we can string these words into meaningful ways and have it affect our lives or communicate somehow. Music is no different. You can learn a few riffs and you incorporate them. You practice them to the point where you don't have to think about them some more, just like learning to say a new word. I concur, or whatever your word is that you're adding to your vocabulary. You probably use it a few extra times at first and irritate your family or something that you're using that word too much. But that's okay. That's getting it under your belt and learning it and getting it into muscle memory and brain memory. And it's the same with music. So you might repeat yourself a lot at first. That's good. Okay. You're learning the vocabulary. And then when it's time to actually jam and you're relaxed, these things just come out. Michael Brecker said the same thing. He would practice a riff and he'd practice it like mad. And then he'd forget about it. And then he realized that a couple months later it would come out. It took him a while to process his brain in the subconscious brain or something. So don't be impatient. Don't, just keep learning stuff, keep developing it, keep playing it, keep messing around with it, and it'll gel in there. It'll fry an egg in your brain somewhere. All right. So this is the kind of stuff I'd like to do. Maybe put on tracks on these sessions. I intend to do them weekly. I'll pick a key. If you like a different key, if you're struggling with a certain key, let me know. I can take comments on these things. And I'll probably, not keep them all up forever. I'll probably put them on the website in an archive of some sort. But I'd like to have people learn and jam and be involved in being creative. That's what I'd like to have offer the world. I think it goes beyond just music. I think it's a great thing to have everyone learn to tap in to their heart, their mind, have them connected and all these things, because it spills over in other areas of life. And maybe you'll be the one that's, invents the newest thing that changes everybody's life. Then you'll be the creative problem solver that figures out the next invention that'll make everybody in the world happier or live easier. And maybe it's because you jammed on the violin that you'll be tapped into that kind of brain thing. I think it's my place to do this kind of stuff to help the world the best I can with the skills that I have. So, and I'll probably make announcements on these things too, but I plan on doing them weekly on Wednesdays if I can. If I have to be traveling or something, I might want to pre-record it and put it out. But watch for it. Give me a thumbs up or any comments if you think this is a good idea, or share it with your friends or anybody you think jams. I'm going to do some free fiddle jam sessions. All right? Watch for them on Wednesdays and let me know if I'm on the right track and this sounds okay and looks okay. Unless I'm upside down or something, I don't get it. But and I'll talk to you next time. See you next week. Bye-bye.